So good morning. I'm Bria Burris, and I'm here at the Black Table with Reverend Lewis and Milwaukee activist Frank Nitty. We have come together on this platform, which is a play from the Red Table with actress Jada Pinkett. And like Jada Pinkett's Red Table, we welcome the tough conversations and issues that affect the Black communities. In this conversation, we want to talk about the last few months and what needs to be done to move the community forward today. I want to allow my guests to introduce themselves, which I'm sure they don't need very much introduction, but we'll try to get them to say why they're here.
Well, I'm Minister Greg Lewis, and I'm the executive director of Souls to the Polls, and I'm also the founder and president of Pastors United, and I'm assistant pastor at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ, and I'm also a community activist. And I'm here because I care about us, and I care about how we're going to proceed right now and to our future. So, that's me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Frank Nitty. I'm a community activist, really more of an advocate. And basically, I'm here to listen and learn and to be basically a voice for the a lot of times in these conversations. Individuals like me have a voice in the room where they don't have a purpose, can relate to the situation that they are in or for the situation they're in. So they don't trust the conversation because they don't know the people. So I'm here to give validity to this conversation and let people know this is a true conversation where individuals in the community will have a voice and that we have the opportunity to actually have change and our voice have the
Great. Okay, so one of the first questions I want to ask is, why is this cause so important?
Why? Could you repeat that, please?
Why is this cause so important? Like right now, during the times that we're in, like we've seen, the marches that have gone on, not only in our own community, but just around the world. And like, just why is this purpose so important right now in these times?
Well, I think it's just a perfect opportunity for us to transition to system change and policy change. For me, young people have stood up and kind of protected me from, brutality and racism, and we have to carry that that momentum forward into something that's going to be long lasting. And that's why I have I have a mandate for myself to make sure that we increase our ability to persuade by getting 100,000 of us working together in a voting block. And we're calling it Souls to the Polls, but actually, it's a block of people working together, like-minded, making sure that we have leverage for an agenda that we're going to need to make changes. So I think it's important that we don't let that energy just die. Frank has been in the field with this, and man, Frank, I just want to thank you personally, man, and I mean it, for the work that you've been doing, because I'm 62 years old, and I used to do what you're doing, when I was 17, actually 12, and when right after Martin Luther King was killed, we went to the streets. My mother told me that I couldn't march, and then I told her okay, and then I ran to the march, man, and I was walking with Father Grappi, and they started throwing rocks, and Father Grappi held my hand, and I was about to run when they started throwing rocks, and he said, "Don't run, son, just stay with me." And ever since then, I've had a desire to help community, because even back in those days, after that march, I lived on 15th and Center, and the first guy who went to college on our block, the police killed him at his house, Clifford McKissick. So all of this has been in me, just driving me, even as a young person when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And now the desire to move forward has finally come to pass, because we've developed this relationship that we can bring about this 100,000 voting block. And that's what we're doing right now, because this hasn't been done before, and we're going to do it right now. We're doing it right now. And it's important that we do it right now, because all of the work that's been done in those streets, the protesting, the marching, we cannot let that be in vain. We have to support our young folks because they stood up for us, and now we have to stand with them to make change.
Great, great. I thank you for that. I thank you for sharing your experience. And you mentioned a few things in that, and I just kind of want to bring it back to that. First, Frank, I second what Reverend Lewis has stated. We thank you for all of your long nights and all of the hard work that you're putting in for our community. And the second thing is you sort of mentioned the voting blocks, Reverend Lewis. What is that? What is that, a voting block? Let's explain that to our viewers.
Well, see, if you have some commonality and your drive to change, part of that has got to be a block of people who are working together. And we're trying to bring about an awareness that we are working together. So we're trying to do that by talking about this voting block, a block of people like-minded who are going in the same direction, thinking the same way, supporting the same things, all those things, but we're doing it with our vote. See, because the vote is so important. I tell you, because I heard the police say, he said, you know, when we have to get tickets at the end of the month, and we got to get our quotas, we go in these low-hanging fruit areas, the Black community and communities that don't vote, because they know that there's not a voice there. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to make it very, very clear, not just to other people who have power, but to our own people, that you do have power. So that's why we're making it very clear what we're doing. We're creating a system of working together through voting, and we call it a voting block, B-L-O-C. Don't put the K on it, B-L-O-C. We're creating a voting block. And our slogan for Souls to the Polls is an army of faith, the power of 100,000 souls to the polls. If I could go somewhere and tell a person, man, I got 100,000 votes, you know, what you want to do? Or if I could say 25,000, that's even enough, 50,000. But, you know, we already did 50, 60,000. We're pushing it up to another 40,000. We're talking about 100,000, you know, and if you want to support us, we'll support you. But if you don't, we'll find somebody who will. And we need that kind of leverage to really make change, lasting change in our community. And if we don't have that kind of power and support, if we don't have that kind of leverage, nobody's going to listen. They'll just continue to do what they've done, ignore us, and continue to help other people and not us.
Okay, great. Okay, so my next question is for Frank. Frank, you're on the streets, you're in the communities, you're traveling, you're going to be the voice of the young people, you know, you're advocating. Why is this cause so important, and how do we push this commitment and energy into the polls, action at the polls?
I think one main thing is with what's going on now, it's a lot different. Even though this has happened before, it's a little bit different than before, with the ability to incorporate like so many different races and so many different genres of people, so many different sexual and white people as well. Like white people are truly inclusive in this Black Lives Matter movement. Not just Black people march. Sometimes it'd be more white people than Black people, to be completely honest with you. But the strength, I think, is in the diversity. I mean, Black people, we've been marching for years. I don't think they really care. You got the white people, you marching, you got all these different groups marching together for Black rights. It changes things. It's not just Black people marching for Black rights anymore. It's all people marching for Black rights. And I think that that's where this must take place. You have to, you know, forever, but that won't. You got to be able to sit down in conversations and dialogue. You got to be able to write legislation. You have to make actual changes. A lot of times, I think, the people that we're actually and make changes now some of these white people that are actually in office. Some of them have parents in office. Some of them have parents in these high CEO jobs. And it's not nothing for me to target white people right now, but those are the ones that have had that position our whole life. So when you talk about like power, because equality isn't just about legislature. It's a justice scale has a balance. I mean, and the balance, equity, and we have like and home ownership. We don't own nothing. If we change all these laws and we come out of this without any ownership, then we're gonna be in the same boat. As long as they still own everything, it doesn't really matter. So after a while, you realize that some things you want to acquire, you can't do that by marching the street and just demanding it by having mass numbers marching there. It's really because it's mass number of voters. When they see all those people that can vote out there, it's different, and that's what they respect. They don't really respect the fact that we out here marching, the fact that voters are marching. So I think for both, it has to be done because some people, for some reason, whenever people have a voice, they just automatically assume they're not voters. You know what I mean? They just automatically assume we're a bunch of people that aren't voters that are walking around, that aren't, members of society, basically. The reality is people that voted, the people in office in. So a lot of these people are so upset. And they're starting to see that as we go to places like Comedy Falls and Port Washington and West Dallas and stuff. They start to see that these people live here. When you shut down the gas station, we march past, it's the people in West Dallas that's marching with us that go get gas there from there every day. So now that's a problem. You can shut the gas station down on me when I come march. But when you shut the gas station down on people that's there every day and they peacefully marching, they start to see that how much hatred it is towards the overall goal that we try to accomplish. And those people want to be one with us, want to be together with us. And as those people become one, you can steer them in a lot of different directions. As far as like leadership is concerned, as far as change is concerned, because they're open to it. And voting is one of those things that can implement change. So voting in equity. So obviously when Minister Lewis reached out to me, months back we talked about voting because it was very important. I've been an advocate for voting all year, in past years, previous, but this year with the COVID-19, I've been a strong single-handed advocate as far as like trying to drive people to still go vote. And I think that's one of the things that Minister Lewis and them saw, my actual passion towards voting and helping people. And that's what made them reach out. So now it's more with what's going on with COVID-19, with the way that they benefits from the lack of knowledge of voting. It's a very prevalent time where people are open to hear what's going on. And I think that a lot of people, and it's not a cocky or arrogant thing when I say this, it's more of a reality in realizing the positioning in life right now. If I had a job, easier, because if somebody says you're the CEO or something, you can act like a CEO. But since we're all volunteers, it's difficult for people to hear certain things. But I do have a voice, and I am reaching people. People are resounding to that voice. And the fact that they're resounding to that voice, I mean, they'll listen to certain things that come from me. And one of those things is about voter. I think I have an obligation to the audience that follows me about voter registration. Very impactful in that. That's where my part comes in.
Yeah, no, listen, I think your following is there. I've seen the videos. I watched one video you did. It was 20,000 people watching that. I don't understand, but how you got there, so maybe you can kind of explain some of that, how you actually made it there. And then I do also want to touch base on one point, but I'll let you finish that one before I ask the second one.
It's been a combination with me. Obviously one is God. God has really provided for me because I didn't do any of this by myself. Honestly, like none of what's going on with me was anything that I did. To be honest, all that has to go to God because there's just the magicalness of it. The way things have been happening have not been human entity. That's it. Like it's some stuff like my destiny. I got body slammed on the home bridge. Back, lacerations after that. Some people try to kill me. I have faith. So it was not my time. I have conversations. So I was fine, just moving around. But I think that showed a lot of people that there's somebody that would stand up. It showed a lot of people that's afraid to stand up. Like, you know what? I can stand up with him because he's not going anywhere. Like, this might be for real. This might be a dude that's like not going to give up. And I think that God has really been using me, and outside of that, my human element, I think that I've done a thing strategically, people may not notice. Not just like I go live and boom, 500 once. I know how to get 2,000 people to watch at once, mainly because I have an audience now. And I don't want to compare it to this, but like, we're talking about more of a training question, so I can. In the hip hop community, they have battle rap, and one of the things in battle rap they talk about is being able to control the crowd, being able to make them actors react off of something like bam, the impact of what you're saying at that moment, or make them not react when you don't want them to react. So they call it controlling the crowd. And I think one thing is, like, if I want people to tune in immediately, I know how to capture my live worded a certain way of what the algorithms of social media are for them to spread it around. So I know, like, them to jump on this right now and I know what to say. But a lot of times, if something isn't going on that's major, then I won't caption it a certain way. So then I don't have that impactful audience. So I don't use those tactics unless something is really going on and keep them engaged. Otherwise, it'll just be like, oh, he the dude that always posts some crazy captions at the top, and then like it's going on,
Yeah, so you know how to reach your audience, basically.
Well, yeah, but it's actually it isn't like you just go live and it happens. And sometimes people do stumble across, go viral. They'll get 60,000, 100,000 views from stumbling across something, but they don't know how to recreate it. They don't know how it happened. They don't know. And it is a system. Being a social media influencer is a thing. It is a skill. It is a certain way from where you place your emojis to, you know what I mean? You can put the fist in the wrong spot and it's not going to resonate to as many people. Just all of that stuff, using dots instead of commas instead of dots, exclamation mark, just everything, how you share it. It's all, these are all algorithm analytics that you have to pretty much gather yourself at first, because now Facebook gives you more analytics, but a lot of these things you have to gather yourself at first to figure out, well, oh, when I do this many people watch. When I do this at this time, this many people watch. But now they're more open with groups and stuff to actually give you certain analytics that can show you how things are working for you. But yeah, it's mainly a combination of the things that God is doing in my life, like opportunities that are being presented, and then taking advantage of those by the knowledge that I previously had. And I think that people resonate to me also because I'm genuine. I mean, I can go by what they say. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but people say I'm genuine and they see the things that I'm doing to be real. So, and I help a lot of people. So I think that it's been a phenomenal experience, and God has been blessing me with the opportunity to help people. And I think a lot of people like to watch that. I mean, people watch fight videos, they watch twerk videos, but now it's something positive they can watch, and every day they see some kind of amazing moment. And I think they don't want to miss it. So a lot of people are drawn to it, watching an hour-long video, 2-hour video, because they're waiting on that moment where something amazing happens and they just don't want to miss it.
Yeah, no, I get that. So Frank Nitty Day, that's official now, right?
Yeah, July 11th.
Yeah. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So you mentioned that a lot of times when you're out protesting, that you see more Caucasian and other nationalities than you see of your own brothers and sisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is, and how can we change that?
I don't think it needs to be changed. I think that misconception is.
Sorry, let me correct myself.
No, I understand.
Not to change it, but how can we get them involved?
Right.
Your fan base, your followers, your audience. How do we get those 20,000 people from your lives and stuff to get involved?
Well, I think that a lot of things are like I said, a lot of times more misconception. So a lot of my following now is national because they wish they had something like Milwaukee that was going on. So those people do want to fly out, and they do contribute by like financially helping, buying waters and stuff like that. But mainly the core group that's here, because I have a large group that's here. Mainly the core group that's here, we've been marching every day for like 50. I think today is 57 or 58. So some people still have jobs, and some people still have things they have to do. They got kids and things like that. They got responsibilities. So they can't march all the time. So say I have a march that starts at 2:30 and it ends at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. Well, the person that worked first getting off of work, and the person that worked second shift is going to work. So sometimes the timing that's set the march allow a lot of people to show up originally. But as people get off of work and stuff like that, they come in, or on their days off, they come in, or the days that they can march. And then when they can't come in, they watch. And people that watch it be like, oh, I marched with you day 3 or 4. I can't get out there all the time. Oh, I marched with you day 11 or 12. I can't get out there all the time. So for me, when I go live, it's an opportunity for them to be involved in the marches when they can't be there a lot of times. So I think a lot of people, when you don't see them out there, the Facebook Live is their way of being out there with us. So they're still out there, you know what I mean? It may not be actually feet to the pavement because they can't in a lot of situations, but they're still there. But I do believe that a lot of the people that follow, as far as like inclusivity, like when you talk about today's news, it's a little different because we need, like when we talk about voter blocks, I think it's a wonderful thing going on because we need everyone to transition. If it was all black people just marching out there, we wouldn't be able to vote on nothing. Like there would be no way for us to change actual legislation. But when you have all these different races of people marching with us, now they don't know who these people are. So when it comes to voting and change, it's scarier. When you have a mixed group, you have a group of whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, when you have all the people marching, it's scarier because they know those people represent a voice and those people can go back into their communities and convince those people to vote the same way. So when it's black people, they're not afraid of us just marching. And lastly, you know, no offense, but we've had allies for a long time that are of white and other races. It's time for them to actually stand up for us. It's time for them to be on the front line. You know what I mean? If the police come with billy clubs, black people shouldn't be always the one with their head cracked. It's time for white people to stand there and be like, no, I'm here to support y'all. That's what true support is. Not supporting from a distance, not sticking your fist up, not black people always being on the front line. So a lot of our white allies are there to stand in front of us, to stand in between us and the police and say, well, you're going to have to get through us to get to black people. That's truly why they're there. And a lot of them, and we believe that it's time for white people to actually stand up for us for real. If they truly stand with Black Lives Matter, it's time for them to take some of these lashes that we get, take some of this scrutiny, take some of the stuff that's going on. And they've been well receptive of that. Some of them have split from their families. Some of them have split from their husband and wife. Some of them, their trust funds have been taken away. Their jobs are gone. A lot of white people are losing a lot of stuff, and I think people don't realize the sacrifice they make. And I'm not trying to say that to single them out or to celebrate them or nothing, but black people, we don't lose our jobs as much when we stand up for Black Lives Matter. Our family members, our wives ain't gonna divorce us. You know what I'm saying? Our mamas ain't gonna cut us off for standing up for black people. You know what I mean? It's just the reality. You go home, your mama like, you standing up for black people? Don't come here no more. Get your saving black people stuff out of my house. Like it's not happening. It is a reality that white people are going through some stuff too, and we don't admit it. You know what I mean? But you know, because we don't want to, you know, highlight anything or give them a violin to cheer for them. But in reality, I know a lot of white people that are struggling now. You know what I mean? They have literally been treated and turned into the minority, where their family have cut them off just for supporting us, where they can't go home and they can't go to their Sunday dinners now. They can't go to their dad's house. They can't go to their mom's house. They can't talk to their brother. Their families have cut them off and their money is gone and they're still marching with us. You know what I mean? And that's a lot. But their sacrifices that they're making, and they're willing to get hit and pepper sprayed and tear gas with us. And I think that right there shows that these particular white people, these particular groups of people that are marching with us truly are here for change, and they're not going anywhere either. And that's scary to the government in the long run. Even after we get Black Lives to Matter, after they vote and pass these legislation for black people, it truly won't be for black people. The laws will say for all people. It's not like they're going to change the laws and they're going to say, okay, now Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? When they change the legislation, it's going to be written for all people, just like in the 60s. The bubblers said whites only. It didn't say no blacks. So when you went to those bubblers, it didn't matter what race you was. You know, Martin Luther King them fought for black rights, but they freed all people. Those are human rights that got written in the law. So once that happens again, and these human rights are written in the law, these people aren't gonna want to break apart. They want to go to stay together in this new world, because when they march together, it's the only place they feel equal. It's the only place they feel free. It's the only place a person with a sword and a shield can walk with a person that dressed like a woman can walk with a person that can wear his 6-point star because he in a gang, can walk with a community activist, can walk with a legislative person, a person that's in office. All these people, where else can all these people come together? Like, where else in the world can all these people come together besides where they coming together right now?
Yeah. No, I get it. Look, you made a lot of very valid points, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am in an interracial relationship. So, you know, I have seen these things happen as far as that family distance and things like that. So all of those resonate so well with me. I am a mother, so I understand that, like myself, many other people aren't able to go ahead and get involved and be there on the ground every day like yourself.
Don't
But
forget one, you Black, and you was that first before anything.
That's true. That's true. Can't deny that, right?
Mhm.
But I guess my real point was with trying to state that was, how do we know that, you know, people of color, people of minority, people from lower backgrounds don't really turn out in elections, you know? So whether or not they're busy working or whatever else, how do we get those individuals to turn out in elections? And I guess I want both you and Reverend Lewis to answer that question. How do we get some of these individuals to understand that this is their power, that their power is through a vote, and that literally everything that we do is tied to a vote, whether it's, you know, education, whether it's housing or just taxes, you name it, it's tied to a vote and it affects us. So how do we, you know, get that to become action at the polls, which translates into some type of policy that assists our community to get to where we need to be?
Well, for me, it certainly, you know, it begins and ends with our faith community, you know, because that's the only thing we have. We don't own homes. You know, Black folks own like 7 to 8%, you know, of the homes here in Milwaukee, and that's a travesty. That, you know, that almost you almost want to cry about that, you know, and that you know, the feeling when I say that, the feeling I get inside me is horrible. And we have no businesses. You know, when I was a kid, man, we had businesses all over town. You know, this is such a strange place for me right now, looking at how our community has transitioned to almost nothing. You know, we're in critical condition. Man, we're on life support. We're on a breathing machine. We're in intensive care. It's cold blue, cold red. That's what it is here. People just don't see it because the surface is not showing that. But deep down in the inner parts of our community, man, we're in big trouble. So we have to depend on, you know, the only business we have left as far as I'm concerned, and that's the church. So for me, you know, I don't get to, you know, march or anything like that. I'm not, you know, I don't do all that. But for me, you know, my job is quite boring. You know, I sit at my kitchen table every day from 9 o'clock to almost 8 o'clock at night, and I call pastors, and we talk about what's going on, and we talk about getting this vote out, and we talk about getting our people out. We talk about getting their families and friends and relatives and neighbors, and we talk about having this this organizing part of our community done with, you know, relationships. And that's how we got to get these people out to vote. We have to do this relational organizing. We have to get the pastor to tell his members, to tell everybody else that we got to get out and vote. And that's what's worked for us since we've started doing this, since the recall. We started doing this and nobody understood what was going on. But people who don't have their seats in office anymore, they understand what's going on. You can ask that governor we just had, you know, Scott Walker. You can ask him about this. He knows what's going on because we brought people out. The state was split. White folks have been split, and we make the difference. And that's what Souls to the Polls is all about. We make a difference. And right now we have an opportunity to not only change Milwaukee, not only change the state, not only change the country, but change the world. Because what happens here in Milwaukee is so important. If we get out the vote here, there is certainly going to be change in Washington, and we make sure that we make a major effort to change our local communities. And that's what's important, because politics is local. So we have to show these people what their power is. See, because a guy walking down the street, he doesn't know what happened here. He doesn't know what we did with Souls to the Polls and the church folks. They don't know. The guy walking down the street, just walking down and not really having an idea about what's going on in politics. He doesn't understand what's going on here. But I can tell you this, we are going to make sure that some of those people understand this time. We letting people know, man, now we have a secure structure that can make things happen. It's called the church. And it's not just Baptists and Church of God in Christ. Man, we're talking about Buddhists, we're talking about Muslim, we're talking about Jewish communities. All these communities are working together to make this voting thing happen, Bria. This is not just Black folks. This is all kind of folks. As a matter of fact, when we do our rise to the polls, man, we're down in one of these basements, and we have, man, it's almost like a war room where people have charts and maps and schedules on the wall. And those people come from Whitefish Bay, and they come from the outskirts of this city. They come in our town, and they set this thing up, and we give these people rise to the poll. And I'm hoping that we can do that again. But that's how we get folks out, man. We go through the church. And now we're trying to transition that into having Frank bring community especially millennials in to this situation. Because I've already counted, we got about 50,000 votes just directly from the church. I've already counted our votes. I'm counting those votes right now. I'm on the phone every day. My job is boring. I'm tired, but I'm not going to stop. So you don't see what happens in the trenches, but I can guarantee you, if that's not happening, we're not getting out no votes. If the church is not involved, the community is not getting out here like it should, I'm telling you. So the other half, that other 50,000 has got to come from community, unless we push for more. But I'm not finished with phone calls yet. You know, I'm going to be making phone calls until September 30th, because that's what I've calculated, and that's how many interviews I have to have per day to make sure I touch each and every ministry that's on my list. So this work, so I don't get the privilege of doing what Frank does, go on and get 20,000 people. I can't do that, but I do sit at my table, and I got about 500 preachers who have their congregations, who have their families and friends and neighbors and other folks who they can persuade to come to the polls, and that's the job that I do. My job is like the grind. You know, it's not no easy way to do the things that I do. But I'm gonna tell you something, relationships have been built, and they're going to be lasting. And people are willing to work together for that one reason. We always have to have something we can work together for. And getting out this vote is that one thing that we really work together for. And that's how we start to get Black voters to the polls, Bria. We start with having our church really get involved. And then we take it from there. So this relationship with Frank and the Black Lives Matter is important, because we're trying to get 100,000 people to work together. This voting block, people who have, let me tell you, people who have a commonality, people who are working together. That's what the block is. People who have the same concerns for their community. And that's just not white folks. That's just not Black folks. That's just not yellow folks. That's just not red folks. That's all folks who have the same commonality and problems. We all have this problem of poverty. We all have this problem of families broken. We all have this problem of economic development. If you're a poor person, you got that problem. We have this problem with education. We have this problem with civic engagement. We have this problem together. And we need to understand that, and we need to bring and drive ourselves to the point where we work together to resolve them. And that means that we need to have leverage through this block. BLOC. I keep wanting to spell that because I don't want people to put the K on it. BLOC. It's a voting block. It's a commonality of people working together for change. And then we can drive our politicians and leaders and people of influence to change laws and systems and policies. We can do that with a force because begging has not done it. We have to do that by making people change. I'm going to make you change this. I'm not going to keep begging you to change this. I'm making you change it. And that's why we're building this block.
Yeah, no, you made some really good points right there. And one of the points was politicians. And I kind of want to switch gears really quick and just try to make sure that we touch base on that. How do we hold local officials, politicians accountable?
I'm just going to say real quick, with an agenda that we can drive. And then the accountability is whether they support that agenda. That's the accountability. Now, if they don't support it, then we find somebody who will. And we're very adamant about that, Bria. We're not begging you to help us anymore. We're demanding that. And if you don't, man, we're going to remove you. And if you do, we're going to support you like crazy. I'm sorry, Frank, but go ahead.
I appreciate that.
No, I think that I want to go back a little bit because some stuff was missed. I think it's very important to respect because I think that specifically asked was like how of the young Black people. That was the question, Bria Burris.
Sorry, your camera was breaking up a bit. So could you try to just repeat it?
Is that I think the question was about getting the young Black people out to vote, right?
Yes, that was the original question. Yeah.
It's really a two-part question because I guess the first part is, are you referring to this election or are you referring to in life?
I mean regularly, religiously. How do we go to the polls religiously? Not just when we get mad, not when we just have a popular candidate that we like or something. How do we get them to understand that it matters, it's tied to everything, and get them to the polls religiously?
I think the problem is like the reality of what you say. It doesn't matter when we have a popular candidate because then we don't have a candidate, so the people don't want to vote. You know what I mean? It ties into so many things. So you want to start with? I'll just start with like lack of education, primary voting. Black people, we take advantage of our own people when it comes to primary voting. Our politicians that are in office that are smaller, like our county supervisors, our aldermen, benefit from the lack of voting. A lot of people get on the ballot for 200 signatures. A lot of them pay people to go get signatures for $1 a signature. So a lot of people, for less than $1,000, they get on the ballot, and then they don't even have an opponent because we're not familiar with the process of getting on the ballot for one, of the voting process for county supervisors and aldermen and those smaller seats for 2. We have a election coming up right now. Ain't nobody been pushing it. We got to vote. We got to vote next in 2 weeks. They gonna vote. Don't nobody know that. Go stop asking young people when we vote. They gonna say November 3rd because that's what's pushed. That's the agenda of all of the people that get votes because they don't want nobody voting in the primaries. So by the time that everybody's pushing somebody to vote, all the people that they were the popular candidates, all the people that they wanted to vote for are out the race. You get what I'm saying? Now everybody wants to push everybody to vote November 3rd, but now it's Biden and Trump. Right. When it was you know what I mean? The whole process before that. So people are like, do I want Biden, the dude that put all of our uncles and daddies in jail, or do we want Trump, the dude that's chastising Black people right now? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just a matter of how do we get people to vote for people when neither one of them are for us? You know what I mean? That's a difficult question. You not.
I think you answered it in the beginning. Sorry to cut you off. I think you answered it in the beginning. And when I did my introduction, I want to just double back real quick. When I did my introduction, I didn't sort of explain more of what I've done. I was hired through Souls to the Polls to reach college students and educate them on the process. So I'm getting ready to graduate from MATC downtown campus, and for the last 2 years or so, 2.5 years or so, I've been working with Souls to the Polls on educating people on the process. And I think when you mentioned that, that is always my go-to. We have to learn the process. We have to sort of let go of the myths and, preconceived notions about voting. I understand why a lot of them are there, but I don't think that if we really want change, we have to get involved in it. I don't think we have to exclude ourselves from it. So I think education is one of the main processes. And you mentioned the primary elections. There are a lot of us that don't understand what a primary election is, right?
Exactly.
And I kind of would do that in a unique way when I did these classroom presentations. I put it in terms of sports. I try to leave out a lot of political jargon and stuff, right? So I would put it in terms of sports, okay? A lot of you guys watch football, y'all watch basketball, and y'all know what the playoffs look like or what the Super Bowl looks like. All these teams go into a sort of playoff mode, and the last two standing is who gets on that ballot for the next election, right? And when I put it in those terms and use those different contexts and stuff that just related to them, they understood it better. But I think a large portion of what it is, yes, we just need to educate them on the process.
I don't even think it's hard for them to understand. I think that the point is that politicians benefit from us not knowing about it. Mm-hmm. So it's something that should be demanded from our political parties. Like when people are in office, they should be educating us on the voting process. That should be the least of their concern. I mean, that's how they get in office. But when you talk about the fact that they don't, it's because they don't want to. So when you have political parties like the Democrats, you have whole parties that are designed not to educate people on the process because it truly benefits the individuals. The individuals aren't going to do it. You know what I mean? They're not thinking about, like, a person running for office, not thinking about how it helps not to educate people on vote. He thinks about, man, if I don't let somebody know I'm not going to have a candidate. I'm going to slide straight through the ballot with no candidate, and, I'm going to win my part, but they're not thinking about the overall impact of what it does above them. And it's a lot of that going on, and nobody's holding people accountable. I think another thing is the respect. Young people don't get any respect, even though I'm in the middle. I'm not. Look, they don't get no respect. So when you talk about growing up, I was always not respected for my opinion because I was young. Older people say you don't know nothing because you're young. So a lot of times when we talk about voting, like, and who we or there's nobody that represents their voice. It's people that's 70 years old that's telling them, hey, vote for me. I'm gonna represent your, and they like, well, it doesn't represent my voice. So they don't have any candidates that represent their voice. They have people like me in the room that represent their voice, that had conversations about anything in life. What in the Black community, poverty, our school systems, what's going on with them, drug-related cases, violence. They don't have nobody in the room like me to talk for them. So when you have all these people making all these decisions and doing all these things, it makes people not want to vote. So you have to have some type of interaction where the young people feel like their voices are heard, where the candidates are representing truly who they are. So when you combine that with the fact that the education with the lack of candidates that they have that like actually support their voice in an election like this, you're not gonna have them turn out like you want them to turn out. You could try to convince them, but you're not gonna have them just pop up November 3rd. It's gonna be a process. It's after November 3rd, then you can begin the process of like truly educating people and explaining things. Another thing is I think that voting isn't explained on different levels. We just explain to people, go out, vote. Your voice need to be heard. Go out and vote. Your voice need to be heard. How is your voice being heard? Nobody telling them people that. Like, what are you voting for? Nobody telling them people that. People always drive the case to vote, but nobody's telling people how it matters. On a local level, voting is way more important than the national level. My personal feelings, the way things are changing locally, our aldermen and our representatives and our county supervisors and our you know what I mean, our mayor and our senator are the ones I'm concerned about more than our president. And the president's cool and everything. It's a symbol of a lot of things, but directly is our council where they put funding. It's our mayor's office, how he controls the creating a trolley and stuff like that. It's our you know what I mean. It's our Scott Walkers that can deny a super trade, you know what I mean, and jobs and stuff to go back and forth. Those are the ones that ones that block federal funding and block the things that the federal government trying to do for us. Those are the ones that we don't understand as Black people, how it affects our community. And I know earlier, Reverend Lewis had talked about the church and everybody coming out and the Muslims, stuff like that. Them white people already voting. Them Jewish people already voting. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's about how do we get the minorities to vote? Them Jewish people know why to vote. They know in a small community when they go out there and vote, garbage cans is important. You know what I mean? And we wondering like why the garbage people don't come down our block all the time. Why garbage don't come. They voting on that stuff. They on top of their alderman. They know who to call. We don't even know who to call about our garbage. Something happened in front of our house. We don't know who to call. When we go down to these meetings, we don't know whether we should go to the Common Council meeting and talk to them. We don't know if we need to go to the Fire and Police Commission and talk to them. We don't even know if we go to the mayor, if we need to go to the internal affairs. We don't know where to go. Nobody's educating us on none of that stuff. So not only do we not know who to vote for, we don't even know what their job is when they get in office. We don't know what an alderman job is, a state representative job, a county supervisor job is. We don't know that stuff. So it's the whole thing on education needs to be done across the board. And we're not worried about holding these politicians accountable. A lot of them need to be replaced. A lot of them need to be new people, new blood need to come in, new individuals. Some people need to be skipped. It's always an order of things in the Democratic and Republican Party where we don't know it, but this person is being groomed to take over for this person being groomed to take over for that person. And then when a young person comes in and tries to skip that process, a lot of the political parties turn on them. And they like, well, they'll say negative things about that person when reality is they're just 33 years old and they about to skip. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's been in line for 20 years waiting to become district attorney or waiting to become this position where the party gonna back them. So we have a lot of that going on in politics too, where our candidates are being chosen for us and picked for us instead of the ones we pick ourselves. So it's truly still not a voice of the people. Once we combat all those things, it'll be easier. And when you have a candidate that represents the people, when you have people that people know in the community going up there, and when people are educated on this is their actual voice and this person that represents them, you're going to have the turnout that you want. And I think that we have a lot of time to work on those things, but that's not something you work on a few weeks before this election or a few months before this election. That's something you work for towards the future. And you keep those trainings and those policies and whatever y'all do, you stay true to those and continuously push those goals going into the future. That way you have candidates that are going to push the same thing. You got to have candidates pushing it too, pushing primary voting and voter education as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So we got to the point we need some education. And you made, I think, pretty much the same point that Reverend Lewis just made. We're not going to beg you, right, to help our community, help us push, our agendas.
Ask at all. We should not only have to ask.
Right, yeah, right.
Yeah, but be doing this.
Yeah, so he made that point, right? And you kind of made that point as well. So how do we educate our own people, I guess? Like you said, and this is probably a street term, the game is to be sold, not told. So they're not knocking on our doors, educating us. How do we educate ourselves? And yeah, I agree, it doesn't happen before, election or whatever the case. But I think we use our platforms, and we are in a time right now where we have to use the momentum that we have. We have to.
I would say this. I agree. I would say this, and I don't want this to sound disrespectful because it's chess, not checkers. And this is some of the tactics white people use, and that's why a lot of times they stay ahead. I think that in situations, a lack of voter education can work, and everyone's been using it to their benefit. So sometimes you have to use it towards your own. If you have someone or something driving the conversation, sometimes like people, I'll give you the best example, Donald Trump. He wasn't the most qualified candidate. He was just somebody that they could push, and then they voted for him. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times lack of voter education actually got Donald Trump in the office. You get what I'm saying? Because people that didn't care about voters or their policies or their politics or what they did in the past, or if they could even do the job, they didn't care about that. Them people just went and voted for Trump because of Trump. You know what I mean? I think in the Black community, we a lot of times, we look at our elected officials that we have for, it's two things that need to happen. One, we have to have it come from our elected officials. It have to be somebody that's like an office type person telling people the same thing so that they can actually, so it holds validity to what people are saying about why we need to go vote. And for two, if those people not going to do it, then we have to breed our own people that's like that, that's going to do it, because it has to come from that kind of source. And when we breed our own, when I say that is, we could take a person that may not know the most about being an alderman and put them in office just because they're going to work on our specific issues. And the candidate might be more qualified than them. But so what? If we tell people to vote for this person because of what's going on, then we'll get that person in office to fix the problem that we have, if that makes any sense.
No, I think that definitely makes sense. I think that makes sense.
It may not sound right, but strategically, it's just something that would have to be done. You take somebody like, not for example, like me, for example, and I ain't trying to use myself, but I'm on the phone call, and I have a platform where people will vote for me. Now, if I go after an alderman seat, I probably will take it. Something small like a county executive, county supervisor, I could take it. I couldn't take the mayor. People, the people would love to run from their heart and stuff. But I know I couldn't obviously win that seat. But if I wanted to go knock out some little alderman or something like that, it wouldn't take me knowing nothing about politics. I can go live every day and say, hey, man, y'all vote for me. I can be funny. I can be charismatic. And people just going to vote for me because they like me and knock that person out. And that person going to be mad. They're going to be like, dude, all these policies, I'm fighting for everything y'all said y'all want in the community. They're going to be mad because they like, why is dude just beat me and I know everything about politics? That's the system working. Now those same voters you didn't educate, now those same people you refuse to tell about what they need to be changing, now all of a sudden you want to educate them when they got a candidate that look like them. When they got a candidate that don't know all the stuff, all of a sudden you want to teach them all this stuff. But it still won't be strong enough at that point for a person like me or individuals like me that could actually take a seat. But then once we get in that seat, then we show them the importance by getting in that seat. Like saying, look what y'all did. Y'all just voted me into this seat and I don't even know nothing about politics. That's how powerful y'all voice is. Y'all can put anybody anywhere. And that's voter education. That's true voter education in my mind, showing them what to do without even being educated on the subject, and then educate them on why it's important to be educated on the subject. And see, because me, like I said, you'll plan something for, it's like God. Whatever you got planned for bad, it'll backfire. Now it'll be turned into good. So they might have planned on the fact of us not having the lack of knowledge. But then when you look up and see candidates like, wait a minute, they implement people because they, hold on, we got to educate. Now all of a sudden everybody want to educate people when you get to just implementing people that's popular because that's too scary.
No,
if I'm a politician, if I'm not a politician, when I get into office, I'm going to say, hey, man, I'm just happy to get in office. What y'all want to do next? That's what I'm gonna say. What y'all want to do next? And that's scary. Like a person that's really that don't know what he's supposed to do and just be like, what y'all want to do next? And the people say, I don't know. We want this. And we're like, fine, we want it. We might want something we don't even need. You know what I'm saying? And they just looking like they don't even know what they need. They asking for this. He don't even know his job. He asking for stuff he can't get. Like I'm out there, I want to change our school system. They like, you an alderman, you can't even do that. So what? We getting a change in our school system. And people like, yeah, change the school system. You know what I mean?
Okay, I got it.
You know what I'm saying? So we gotta, I'm being funny and stuff, but we really gotta take advantage of the fact of the position people have put us in. Take lemons and make lemonade. You know what I mean? It's just the reality of the situation. But just because I acknowledge them as lemons, I don't want it to be seen as disrespectful. It is what it is.
No, I get it, and I appreciate the insights on that.
Yeah, that's funny, man, because you're right. that man, you funny.
Yeah. Well, people have to be
entertained. A lot of people that can resonate with that.
It's a black tech. Got to be entertaining as well. It got to be brought to the man.
Hey, man. So you should run for alderman.
Right. I just got to pick a seat, though. I got to pick a seat, get an address.
Yeah. Say pick a seat.
Hell going. You know what I mean? They don't really live in our neighborhoods. We know they all hell.
Oh, man.
House.
That's even funny. Pick a seat, dog.
Yeah. And whoever you go against, they're going to be mad. They're going to be like, why did you, they're going to call me like, Frank, why did you pick my district? You could have picked any district, Frank. Why you coming from my seat?
Right. Because all you need is about 1,700 votes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
they get on the back, but people don't know that. We don't know
Oh
that.
man, that is so funny. No,
People,
Frank, you made some really valid points,
yeah,
man. But see, that's why we need to have control too, though. He just made the points. We
Yeah,
need to have control. We need to have some type of control. And one of the things that Frank said that really resonated with me is that, man, we need a candidate. We need somebody to vote for. So, the you know, I take the opinion that, listen, we have to be heard. We have to be uh, people who have at least put ourselves at the table. If we want to create this change, we have to get at the table, and that's important. And you know, having a candidate is important. We knew that when we had Barack Obama. But that's the presidency. And black folks had a candidate when they had Lena run for mayor. So that's just not the only thing. Because it was people who didn't want to vote for her, apparently, because they didn't. We have to have somebody who wants to do this stuff and do it right for us. But we have to be the driving force. I don't think that I want to just be, doing all this work and then somebody else make all the decisions for me. I want to be able to make decisions about what happened in front of my house. You go out in front of your house, you be like telling people, man, what y'all doing out here? And they'd be like, I don't know, call somebody, call the city. Yeah? No, the city should have called me before they start doing this stuff. That's the kind of power I'm talking about. Man, I'm not going to be just adhering to whatever you want to do in my community. It's just like this lead. Man, when y'all going to fix that? When? It's still not being done. See, those things we need to have demands for. I went into a Walgreens the other day, and I said, can I use your men's room? And she said, it's out of order. I said, well, when you gonna fix it? Man, you in our community, and we,
right.
the services are, your services for me, and I come in here, you got a bathroom and I can't use it, and the only thing you tell me is it's out of order. And then when I ask you when you gonna fix it, you get mad. The chick asked me, she said, are you a pastor? I said, yeah, I'm a pastor. And I want to know when you're going to fix that bathroom, because our folks come in here and they have to use it. And it'd be folks like me. Man, I'm older. Man, I can't hold this thing. Well, I'm just saying.
Not only that, it's in their makeup when they write to be a business. They have to have that bathroom in order.
Exactly. And then the woman who I was talking to, she was black. And she all mad at me because I was demanding that they have a bathroom available for this community. See, all those things need to be worked out.
They don't want to clean it up.
Huh?
They just don't want to clean it. Literally,
yeah,
that's all.
See, but Frank, I'm saying all these things should not be their decision. That should be us making those decisions. Man, if you want to do business here, take care of that business. You just don't bring me any kind of product that you want to bring me. You bring me a product that the community needs, and you make it a viable product for community development, because we can't stand any more disillusioned people in our community. So I come in there, you tell me it's out of order. Now I'm mad. I'm going out. Somebody say something to me. I'm getting all mad, and they getting mad, and next thing you know, we got a situation, and it could be a deadly one. See, all this stuff, it's really not checkers, it's chess. Man, people do things in our community to make sure we stay disruptive, so we have to find a way to squash that disruption. We have to find a way to work together to do as much as we can to educate our young people, to help our crime and incarceration rate, to help our economic development, to help our family structures, to help our health issues. We have to do it. In the Bible, in the 7th chapter of the Bible, there was these ladies who had a problem. They said, we're not getting any of the services. We're widows and we're not getting any of the service. Only the Jewish women are getting the services. And these women were Greek. So, the apostles got together. They said, you're right, but we got too much work to do. Let's find some people who could get this done for you. So they went out and got 7 Greek men. And They help resolve the problems for those widows. My point is this. There were Greek widows who had the problem. The apostles got 7 Greek men. Man, we got the problem. We need to be resolving it. We need the resources. We don't have to get resources from you making $200,000 or $300,000 and I get the crumbs, but I'm doing all the work. And then, you know, I'm sitting around mad because I can't pay my rent. I can't pay for it.
Is he still there? Connection is bad somewhere. He's frozen. Frank, are you, can you turn your mic on? So,
I thought I was talking to you.
I don't know, yeah. Yeah, I think he kind of got cut off. But yeah, so we want to wrap it up. I guess I just want to see if you had anything else to say, if something in particular resonated with you, and then I'll do the same, and we can try to close it out.
I agree with everything that's been said, and dialogues like this are very important. The conversations definitely need to happen, and everybody's voices need to be heard. It have to be a collaboration in the Black community of the older and the younger people. I think that when we separated the father out of the home, I think people always talked about the kids being raised, but it really, for me, it wasn't about the kids being raised. The mom has always been strong enough to do that. It's about the relationship grown. God, there's no elders for me to seek counsel with. That's what taking dad. When I grow up and I'm 25 and I'm 30 and I have older men that are 45 and 50, we be on the same level a lot of times because of them being separated from the family structure and the struggle that they've been going through in the community. It's not like a passing down of anything. A lot of times young people be doing better than our older Black men sometimes. And those generational curses kind of hurt us. And I think that that relationship is more like needs to be bridged and repaired as well, where we can seek counsel from older men, especially Black men in Milwaukee that are successful. They be kind of seeking counsel with the young men in Milwaukee that are trying to be successful and stuff like that. The Mike Keys need to have conversations with me, the Reggie Moores and stuff like that need to have conversations with us on a consistent, regular basis, where we actually seeking counsel from these older Black people and start boards and come together. So conversations are very important, need to continue in a lot of different areas even outside of voting. But until we actually together and vote one way, we actually come together and decide to be a voice a certain way, one voice, we're not gonna get no changes. And we gotta do one at a time. We gotta start with one subject, be one voice for that one subject, change that one thing, and then move on to the next. And I just think that this is a start to doing something like that. And teaming up with the church, like you said, you bringing in the community, which has a ton of votes, and then you have the church who has 50,000 votes. And once you bring those together, instantly, when you bring the community with the church, it's scary for political presences. It's scary for the state. It's scary for the city. Scary for because now all those voters consolidate when their voices come together. And then I wish the church and the community should have been one voice a long time ago. That's a whole nother thing we'll talk about later. You know what I mean? But the reality of it even sounds weird saying the church and the community separately to me. You know what I'm saying? Like saying, because they should all really have always been one voice.
That's right, man.
You worked on that later down the line. We can have that conversation about separation between the community and the church. But basically, we got to come back together for the presence of voting, no matter what. Like the police.
Somebody cut me off while I was in the middle of my rant, man. What happened there?
I don't know. You froze up and disappeared on us.
Man, I was really feeling it. Yeah.
I appreciate it. But yeah, so we wrapping it up. So I was just trying to go around and just try to see what resonated and what stuck out during this conversation that's going to push us to the next steps.
Well, hard work. There is no easy way, Bria. You just got to, man, you got to put your nose to the grindstone, and it's got to be hard work. There is no easy way to success. Even when God is teaching, it's hard. It's rough. There's pain. All of those things are happening, you know, if you're being successful. So in order for us to continue to be successful, we have to continue to work, and we have to be finishers. Whatever we start, you got to finish it. You know, whatever your duty is, whatever your whatever your goal and responsibilities are, you have to start and finish, Bria. You gotta be a finisher, and that's what we have to do. And we have to include our community into having that attitude. See, we have to drag folks to success. I don't care what nobody say, man. Everybody ain't coming along because we got great ideas. Man, you gotta drag people to success. You gotta keep on doing it and repeating it. You know, some people say, you know, Greg, well, you say the same thing over and over again. I say, well, how come you're not responding? You must not be listening, because I have to say the same thing over and over again. That's why I have to say we're an army of faith, the power of 100,000 souls to the polls, because I want people to know that we're building power, and I'm not being apologetic about it. And, you know, you know, I had a conversation yesterday and people talking about I need to watch myself and don't go out by yourself. Man, I ain't worried about these people, man. I almost died. And if I ain't scared of that, man, I definitely ain't scared of any one of these people. I mean, I've already faced, you know, I had that corona and I was at my deathbed. And I asked myself, are you afraid? I said, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all. You know, when I got afraid is when I knew I was going to live again, because life is hard. But when I was dying, I was not afraid. So I'm telling you right now that we have to do the hard work. We have to speak truth to power. We have to tell the truth, because there's nothing else working but the truth. Truth is the only thing working right now, because we got so many politicians who are lying and stealing. They're thieves. They steal the people's joy. They steal the people's hearts. They steal the people's hope. They're thieves. They're thieves. And now we have to bring back to a reality the truth about what's really going on. And we can't be afraid to stand up. Somebody's got to stand up. Somebody's got to tell the truth. Somebody's got to do it. And I'm volunteering to do just that. Tell the truth. You know, I don't have to talk about who I'm gonna vote for, because see, we have an obligation to educate and inform our community. So that's how we, you know, operate with Souls to the Polls. And that's what we do. Man, we educate and inform our community. And that means that it has to be full of truth. There cannot be any negligence at all in what we do. We have to be totally committed to adhering to a truthful education and information network that is going to build that 100,000 souls to the polls. And that's where we are right now. We're going to do it. I don't care what nobody say. And I don't care if don't nobody else help. I know what I'm going to do. And if I do my part and everybody do their part, there is no question in my mind we'll have this 100,000 souls to the polls. There's no question in my mind. The victory's already ours. I'm on the phone every day and I hear what these people are saying. I'm in the streets and I hear what these people are saying. And they're saying that we want to make a difference and change. I'm asking people, are you registered? Man, there's a lot of people I thought wouldn't register. Man, they registered. Man, this is a new time. This is a new day. Man, and we got to let these young people go. Man, they have to make decisions. Like Frank said, we got to let them make some decisions. Man, you got to make some decisions now, man, because we got to do this together. I can't make all the decisions. Man, I'm an old guy, you know, I don't want to make all the decisions. We need to make them, you know, for everybody.
I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. I mean, this conversation was explosive. It really was. It was fun, you know, it was educational for myself with the voting block and things like that. I appreciate both of you guys' perspectives on these things. And a lot of it resonated with me. You know, we are alike in so many ways with having these discussions, even though our backgrounds and things look a lot different, you know. But we, you know, these conversations let me know that we stand together in a lot of these stances. And again, it's going to take a community, you know, to make sure that all of this happens, you know, get the young people involved in the conversations, you know, educate each other on what needs to happen, and make sure we get to go out and vote in those local elections. That's how
local is important.
Definitely. That's the stuff that directly affects our communities, you know. affect us each and every day. So yeah, I appreciate the conversation seriously. And I hope that we can definitely do it again on some other topics and maybe even get some other people or some of those local officials joined into that conversation with us.